Have joined us. I think that we can start now. I sent you a link into the chat. I will show you what you can find in there. During the whole event, you can ask us questions about things that will be shown in here. It is a simple form that is already done in our platform, in our tool on demo.netbrief.com. And what you can do here, you can ask us a question. If you want, you can put down here your contact, or you don't have to, you can write anything you want. And here is a required field that is a question. And in the end, we will be able to see your questions. For example, I already asked something like, for example, how long will the event take? And I answered that it will be 90 minutes. So till 18:00, you can find us here, and there won't be any break. So unfortunately, you have to listen to us for full 90 minutes. And what will be shown here for you today? So the agenda is simple. In the first 30 minutes, Professor Gabriel Juhas, who already joined us, will talk about about his perspective about the future and past and present of IT and the digital transformation. And also my colleague Jakub Kovács is in here. I will show you here him. So here he is, and we are all three here together, and he will then answer all your technical questions. Also, our colleague Milan Šamaj is here with us too. So
we have one microphone, so hopefully you can hear all of us.
It would be great if you will tell us if you can hear us. So just type it into the chat, so we will know that you can hear us okay or not. Loud and clear.
Okay,
great. Thank you very much.
Sometimes it's not so easy to set up the microphone that all of us are similarly loud, or
it is in the middle, so and you can also type anything else into the question field, maybe if you want to know something more, or you would like to tell us how you feel today. Maybe in the meanwhile, when we are waiting for another guys to join us, we can present ourselves. So maybe Gabriel, you can start, and then we will follow you.
Okay, as Luboš already told you, my name is Gabriel Juhas, and I'm an enthusiast in IT and computer science. I've been working in computer science for around 30 years, so starting in 1992. So it will be 30 years now. After my study, and all this time I've been in academia in different positions in different institutions around Europe, starting here in Slovakia and later in Denmark, in Aarhus, then in Technical University Berlin, then Karlsruhe Institute of Technology and University of Eichstätt-Ingolstadt, and then back to Slovakia University of Technology. So different positions, from researcher through assistant professor, associate professor, and now I'm a full professor of computer science, of applied computer science at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Information Technology here in Bratislava at Slovak University of Technology. And at the same time, I actually, as a result of my research, I was working on local languages and business process management, and I created local process-based language Petriflow, which will be also a part of today discussion or presentation. And around 5 years ago, I founded, together with my former students, a company called NetBrief, where we try to implement ideas and to research ideas and to create the next generation local platform. So that some of the colleagues are here with us today, and some of them are still working and researching with me at the university. And so this is something what they decided to do today. So we hope that you will enjoy and you will get some knowledge from us that will help you, or maybe bring you in some kind of our perspective, how we consider or how we feel that the next future of the low-code platforms will go. Okay. Now,
Thank you.
if you want, you can introduce yourself.
It's gonna be a lot shorter because we do not have that much experience. So my name is Luboš Petrović and I work here in NetBrief. I was Gabriel's student and also with Jakub here. And right now we are working here in NetBrief as a full-time employees. I am working as a pre-sales and technical consultant. And Jakub here can present himself.
Hello, so my name is Jakub Kovač, and I am a PhD student at the university and as well as a part-time employee here at NetBrief. So, and my job is to work on the application engine that we want to show you today.
Okay.
I try to help.
So I think that it's 10 minutes past 4, so we can start. Maybe somebody else will join us. I will share my screen and Gabriel, it's yours.
Okay, so sometimes when we go to our customers, so we have some kind of maybe almost philosophical discussions about low code and sometimes no code, because if you go to internet, you will find a lot about low code platforms and no code platforms too, and this is a kind of emerging market with low code no code platforms. And sometimes when we started with our language and with our company, I was not so very happy with this title low code, and I was even less happy with no code description of such platforms, because I for my students I always use an example with writings, and Milan, who is here too, when we discussed a couple of years ago why should we have some language for low-code platforms? So then we came together with an analogy with writings. So imagine what is a language? Language is actually something that two subjects want to communicate with each other, and if you have a programming language, then a human wants to communicate with a machine. And if you go back to the history, so a language is primarily for communication between two humans. And if you go a couple of thousands years back to the history, in old Egypt, so you will see that they had hieroglyphs, and there were only few peoples who were writers who could write and read hieroglyphs. And actually imagine in that time somebody would come and say, okay, no code, no writings. We will just play a theater, or I don't know, just draw pictures and scenes. Maybe if they would have a camera at that time, they would make movies, but no writings at all. Nothing like cooking receipt or something like that. Nothing like algorithms, nothing like how to build a house, to write it down, but just to show. So this is something what is disturbing me if you say no code, because it means like no writings, no language, no code. Just do something or show something, or click and drag and drop something, and everything will work. And this is a kind of like telling that you will not have some communication formalism or some communication mechanism that human and computer will interact, because you will have no code, and no code means actually no writings and no language. Just by showing or dragging and dropping means the similar thing like in old Egypt they would say, okay, and why is this no code wave today? Is because people say, okay, there are very few IT people, so we need that more people will be able to implement applications. I am not saying writing a code for applications, because in no code you have no code, so it is like contradictory. Implement applications without writing a single line of code means without having something in hand, just playing. Yeah, but this was not the case in history. People came with simplifying and abstractions, like coming with letters which were not so complicated as hieroglyphs. And if you go in our area, several hundred years ago, it was Maria Theresia, who was in that time emperor of the monarchy in this geographical area, and she came with program that almost anybody could write in this area. Yeah, so at that time, 2% of people, don't take my words as exact, could write in hieroglyphs and read in hieroglyphs. Today, 98 people can read and write here in this geographical area, and maybe 2% not, or 10 or 15. It's not so important how many, and these are children up to 5 or 6 years. Yeah. So instead of saying that no code, we should actually try to simplify the languages for communication between human and machine. Yeah, but at the same time, so actually, and if you go to history, you see, okay, really at the beginning, the first languages for communication between human and machine were such that machine could easily understand and people not. Because if you imagine that you have two sides of a river, and on one side is a machine and on the other side is a human, then actually those languages were on the side of machine. So this was the first layer that machine could understand, like hexadecimal code or machine code. And later on, there was another layer, which was still very near to computer or to machine, and not too understandable for a person, which was assembler layer. And then later on came another languages like C or C++, Java, etc. So, and with each layer, the languages moved from the bridge, like on the bridge between machine and human, from computer, a layer after layer, more understandable to human. But actually, there were also attempts from other side, like from a human language, to try to make models, like process models in business process management, or kind of trying to implement natural language And all of this research from natural language to some kind of formalization. Yeah. And what you can do you only can bring a next layer if the last layer in this abstraction or in this direction from computer or machine to a human is matured. If it's actually accepted, widely used, stable, then you can go to the next layer. So here is another slide when we can explain or when we can see this evolution. And it's not only evolution in languages, it's also evolution in kind of things like hardware or networks. So middleware technologies for hardware and networks. Yeah, as you have these different layers of communication protocols, etc., you still goes from this machine or computer understandable languages or protocols to protocols, languages, and formalisms that are more understandable for the people. And in this way, still more and more people can do applications, can implement applications. Yeah. And what we believe that today is the time when such next generation of languages should come or will come. At the present time, nobody knows which exact languages will they be, but what we know that they will come. And these low-code platforms or first generation of low-code platforms try to do this without those languages. Just saying, okay, we use what we have, we implement some drag and drop environment where you drag and drop something, and as a result, you have an application. But more or less, what is inside is a black box. Yeah? But what we believe in people in academia coming from research, that there is a time that the next generation programming languages will come, which will fulfill those low-code requirements. Yeah? But they will be fully rich programming languages where you can implement your applications in those languages. Such as, for example, if you write an application in C, you don't necessarily need to write a part of it in assembler. Or if you write something in Java, you don't need necessarily to write it in assembler or machine code. So you can write a full application in that language. That's one thing. And this is another view on the situation from a business point of view. You have also our business development director here, Milan Šamaj, who's been active in IT for several decades, working for big IT corporations, and he can confirm that actually in business you have, if we simplify this a little bit, so you have actually two possibilities. Either you buy a finished application, some called off-the-shelf app, like CRM system or eShop or whatever kind of system which is finished, and you can parameterize this system a bit, a little bit, maybe more, maybe less, but actually you have a predefined set of functions, and you can choose from those predefined set of functions or functionalities, and you can use this program. Okay? No, go back. Okay. So you have these off-shelf applications. So then you have it, and if you buy it as a business person, you can have it tomorrow. You can click three clicks, and you can buy it. You can download. You can install. Maybe DevOps will take a time, a couple of days, maybe if you have your own infrastructure. Maybe if you have as a software as a service, so you buy it in 3 clicks. pay with your credit cards, and you have your system. The problem is that then sometimes you need to change the processes of your business or your company to those which are implemented in the software. So the flexibility is quite low. You have fast time or quick time between decision to digitalize your process and to have it digitalized, but you just can set a couple of parameters and then you pay. You have this trade-off. You are paying with lack of flexibility. On the other hand, on this right down corner, you have full stack custom applications. So today, usually you take a kind of full stack. For example, you take a database like SQL database of your choice. You take a application layer, which is usually a server layer, like Java application, or maybe a framework in Java framework like Spring Boot, and writing there the application logic, and then you take a kind of front end or user interface or client technology. Today, the moderns are probably HTML5 in combination with JavaScript or TypeScript, or kind of new versions of JavaScript with objects, etc., etc. Maybe you take a framework or library like Angular or Vue or React or something like that. This is a typical full stack, yeah. And then you are making a custom code, yeah, of your choice. For sure, those libraries help or those frameworks help you, but still you need maybe you need somebody who is specialist for databases. Maybe you need somebody who is specialist for backend programming, and then you need some experienced front-end programmers who are very good usually in technologies, but not so good in business. So, and what you usually need, you need actually people who are good in business, but those people who understand your processes usually are not so good in programming. So it's like if you want to write a book in hieroglyphs, you can be a good story sayer, but you are not you have not knowledge of hieroglyphs, so you have to tell somebody and he is writing down, but maybe he doesn't understand exactly what your business is or what your processes are, so he's programming something different. So actually you have a full flexibility, but to get there is costly, time costly, human resources costly. People who are full stack programmers are very rare, yeah, and are very expensive. So this is the reason why such low-code platforms came. Yeah, but as we said, those low-code platforms are even worse. No-code platforms have no code. Yeah, so how could several people then speak about the specification or about the application if you don't have it in a kind of language? And if the language is generated, if you generate all of these full stack code, then if you want to speak with some third person about that application, then you have to go back to this full stack code. So you have no earnings on that. So then you lose all of these nice things, or you can sit together or with a low-code platform and drag and drop together. This is actually what we want. Maybe we would like to have some kind of application in form of a code. Yeah. Therefore, we believe that the next generation of low-code platforms, which will bring you almost the same customization as the full stack applications, with almost the same speed or almost as fast as off-the-shelf applications. Yeah, for sure, we believe that you have to pay. If somebody tells you you will have full flexibility, then I don't believe that it is true. So you have to pay something. Yeah, it is like you cannot do in Java the same thing that you can do in assembler, because you cannot work with memory in your computer directly. You cannot do in Java the same thing as you can do in C language, because you have not the control over memory and addresses of your variables, etc. So in some sense, with this abstraction, you have to pay something. Yeah, and now the problem. Can you go here? So and now if we are here, the question is now. So if we agree that next generation low-code platforms should work with some kind of low-code language, and now it is the second time when I have to say I have a little bit of criticism to low-code name, because low-level programming actually for programming means those machine code and assembler, and higher level languages means those languages which have low code or lower code or less code. So maybe less code or simplified code would be better than low code, but you cannot actually run against the wall. So you have to accept this marketing title for those kind of applications or frameworks or platforms, which are now commonly known under low-code or no-code name. But what we believe that this, so to say, next generation low-code platforms should work over a fully functional, not functional in meaning of functional languages, but languages with full functionality, yeah, which are actually really a programming languages in some sense, yeah, have formal semantics, have specification, etc. And this is what we actually believe from the starting point of the company. This was the reason why we tried to make such a language. It goes back maybe to 2008, so maybe 13, 14 years back in research, and maybe 5 years back with first commercial implementation. And in some sense, we believe that this was a good prediction, because if we go to the market today and we see some big corporation like Microsoft, who has their own low-code platforms. For example, Microsoft has Power Apps. So recently, I believe this year, somewhere in March, they announced that they will support their low-code platform Power Apps with a low-code language, PowerFX, which should be accessible for more people than the full stack Microsoft programming stack. Yeah. So we believe that this is a good direction, and we see on the market that there are also from a big corporation some attempts in that direction. So not to build the next generation low-code platforms, which will have a next generation low-code languages, which will be a next layer over today well accepted full stack. Yeah. Can you go further? And now the question is, if we agree on that, the question is, what should those languages fulfill? Or you can go many different directions. Yeah. What for a property should such low-code languages have? And you see many of low-code platforms, or several low-code platforms, are built as a next generation of BPM tools, like business process management tools. Yeah. some of them are growing from this background. Yeah, and if you go back to that to this example, then if you see in history, the first several decades of programming were algorithmic oriented or control flow centric. So the focus was what to do, how to compute, so computation centric. And then after several decades of development, so the main trend came in data centric programming languages and frameworks. And at the same time, more or less, actually from evolution of programming or IT, databases and database systems and object-oriented programming came more or less at the same stage of the evolution as twins. Yeah, and those applications were data-centric, fully data-centric, like. And this is the today generation of IT people, my generation of IT people, like people in like around 40, 50, are children of that evolution standpoint. So a lot of people in IT think data-centric, in opposite to business people who think process-centric. Yeah. If you take databases like SQL databases, you have actually your data tables with relationships, yeah, and you have only 4 operations like create, delete, and then read and update, and that's all. So it's more on data and not what to do with data, who should do with data, who is allowed, etc., and what should be the functions or manipulations. And actually you can say, okay, in object-oriented programming, on the other hand, as a twin, we have, I would say, we have methods which tell us how we can manipulate data. So it's actually not as much data-centric as databases. Yeah, it's even called object-oriented programming and not databases. Yeah, but you don't have life cycle of data, or you have still this very simple life cycle, like you have some kind of constructor, and maybe if you have garbage collection or not, you can destruct or delete, or how you call it, objects of a class, and you have some methods, but you don't have explicitly given a life cycle of objects. And what we believe, one thing I believe these next generation languages should bring is that they should actually take all object-oriented concepts and not throw it away. So if you go to the spiral, starting with algorithmic or control flow centric, going to data centric, now it's time to have both advantages, to have both data-centric combined with control flow-centric. And the easiest way is to take objects, data objects, and add a life cycle, a process model, something what is well known from business process management. And what should be basic building blocks of those processes? Should it be methods? Or should it be something more abstract, like tasks or activities or process steps? I believe that it should be tasks. Something what is a kind of atomic piece of work, how I can manipulate this data. So we believe that this next generation, we call it process-driven programming, which is actually a combination of object-oriented programming together with just adding life cycle to objects, saying, okay, now the object can be created. Like imagine, we will show you, imagine you have a mortgage. So mortgage start with application for a mortgage, then somebody in bank will approve or reject the application or pre-approve, and then you will say, okay, I will buy this house, and then somebody should evaluate the value of that house, and if it is higher than amount of money you ask, so they will approve, and then you sign a contract, and then you have to insure, and then they will send you the money. So in some sense, in this, from business point of view, tasks, you can say this is a life cycle of an object, mortgage. And you can have it in a table, in a database, or you can have an object in object-oriented programming, and you can have all of the attributes, data attributes of the mortgage, like who is applying, what is his name, surname, how much money he applies, how long time wants he to pay, what is the monthly payment for that mortgage, etc. Yeah. So in this way, we believe that to data objects we should have a life cycle, which is a kind of process. Yeah. And okay, should we take for those processes something what is a standard today in process in business process modeling or not? And the problem is that those things in business process modeling are coming from another side. If you remember what I started to say about the river, which has on one side a computer and on the other side a human, so these processes are built from this human side. And there is still a gap between today's standard programming languages and programming and implementation, and between models in business process management. So it is not so easy to directly implement, for example, BPMN 2.0 model. Why? Because actually it doesn't have a explicit state representation. So you should have a model which has an explicit state representation, which actually and is executable. So it should consist of tasks. It should have tasks, but it also should have an explicit notion of state. And you can say, okay, so actually some of the variables in this class, in this object, should be control variables. So you should also be able to say that this is the state of that object. It was born. The mortgage is submitted but not approved. And you should not derive the state from the set of tasks which already were executed and which still not has been executed. You should have this notion as an explicit state notion. So this is what we believe these next generation languages should have. So you should take some kind of well-known accepted formalism. We, for example, choose Petrinets because they are a blueprint for most of those process-based languages for over 40 years and have explicit notion of state. Yeah, and for sure you should have a concept of user. That is a kind of abstract entity that will perform tasks and can have some kind of permissions that you can say, okay, who can execute those tasks, who can fill the data or manipulate with the data in that task, etc. So you should have a concept of user and concepts of roles or something like that, or users list or kind of permissions and authentication and authorization management. And the last thing is it should be event-driven. It's actually, you should be able to react and write pieces of code, and therefore low code and not no code, because sometimes you need code. Yeah? And actions means, as you will see later, for example, I want to implement some kind of business rules that if a value of a variable is this, then you should go upper branch, or otherwise you should go down, or you should do something in the cycle. You can even implement relations between objects using some kind of references between different objects in data variables. And if you have these different objects which are referencing to each other in the same way as in tables in SQL databases, records or rows are using foreign keys in relation. In a similar way, now if you have not only a data, but you also have a life cycle, so you can say if I'm finishing the task here, in another object which is in relation with me, some new task should be executed, or some data variable should be changed. So you are actually forcing events in a chain. Like if somebody is clicking on me and finishing me as a task here, I can write inside of me, okay, go to another process, find something. So you need to have a good query language. And if you find something, then you should execute their task. Yeah? And in that task, you can call another task and execute their something. So you can easily, you can have some locality, some distributive system very easily. So it should be event-driven. And this is what we believe are some kind of requirements to such a, or one possible reasonable set of requirements for such a local language. And we try to implement such a local language which fulfills those things and try to motivate why we choose this set of requirements for that language. You can go. And another thing, what I believe, where should next generation language help you, is that it should avoid this necessity to have full stack programmers. Because just take a very simple example. You want to have an application, this mortgage, and you want to have a surname of an applicant who is applying for money. You want to borrow money from your bank. So what do you do in full stack application today? Usually you are having an input element in HTML5, yeah, called surname. Then with ID surname, then usually you have a variable in JavaScript which is called surname and is binded to that input element. And then you have some kind of get post, which is sending those data from this JavaScript variable to application layer, for example, in Spring Boot. And there you have, if you want to follow the I would say, rules, then you have a controller, you have application itself, and then you have a Java bean, which is for communication with database. So you have surname maybe 3 times in the Java bean, in controller, and in this main method in application, which is implementing application logic. And basically, if you have, for example, this SQL table, then you have a third layer where you have surname with capital letters as a column in a table. So we actually have 3 layers, and on some layers you have multiple times different objects which have the same attribute surname, but it is still the same surname. Yeah, it is just somewhere else, but for you as somebody. So in these local languages of next generation, there should be just one attribute of object, or I would say process mortgage, which is a surname of an applicant. And it should be enough to state it once. And it should not be necessary to take care of those layers. Similarly, as Java is not asking you to tell that you have callot or malloc, a piece of memory inside of RAM. Yeah. So it's actually is doing it for you. You don't need to manage your memory in Java. In the same way, it shouldn't be necessary in these local languages of next generation to take care about different layers. So it should be something. Okay, I am putting it somewhere on the cloud, and it has some kind of namespace and identification, and there it is. There is a surname. Once I gave it, it is there. And this is what we believe should actually has two kind of different requirements. One is like saving your time, like this boilerplate code avoidance, but not on the number of lines, but on these layers, not necessity to be on different layers in full stack. And on the other hand, this adding of lifecycle, process lifecycle to objects. These are actually two fundamental things we believe could help, and such a language could make implementation of applications much easier. And this is what we choose, and we are trying to develop such a language. We call it Petriflow, which is actually a language which fulfills this. And now we are ready to show you a live demo how those applications should be, or maybe you are telling me how to do it, or what to do. Or maybe we can, here is actually starting this. Yeah, here is starting this. This is not, now we are starting with actually implementation of these concepts, how we do it. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, like basically here you can see what we will do in the next 30 minutes. So we'll use our builder where we will create a process-driven programming application.
So actually we have a one product we have is a software which is something like low-code platform where you can drag and drop and it's generating this code. So you can add a model directly there with Petrinet, so you can import your business process model, yeah, and it will generate a code in this low-code language, yeah. And actually, this low-code language is readable because it's XML based, so it's also readable for people. They can see over a blueprint of the application, but at the same time, this blueprint is a code. It is a formal stuff that can be taken as is and deployed in an interpreter of that language. And we call this interpreter of that language an engine, yeah. And actually, this engine is a full stack application which has a presentation layer in Angular, application layer in Spring Boot, together with Druze, which is actually a engine for rules, and it has as a primary databases no relational database MongoDB, and it also has some kind of indexing database for indexing data, which is Elasticsearch. And this product, this engine, is actually a source available code. So you can take this interpreter and you have control. You can, if you are really a full stack programmer, you can go inside and see how it's implemented. You can even override some functions there. You can add your own functions, for example, for integration with third-party systems or your own systems, which are not which are separate applications, and in this way you should save a lot of time. Yeah. Okay.
So let's go further, right?
No, just very few, and if you then use it as in business, so usually this is a typical business architecture in a company of this product. So you actually can work with your customers. You can offer a user interface for your customers. You can offer a user interface for your employees, and actually because each object has this life cycle consisting of tasks where you manipulated those objects, then actually you have a task manager for your employees when they get actual task. So something what they have to do. So you get it as actually as granted that you have a task manager over those life cycle of different objects, because this life cycle consists of tasks. Yeah, and you can integrate it over any kind of your systems or third-party systems, either with robot process automation or with web services or with connectors, or even writing your SQL command somewhere on the database if you have some old system. Yeah, so it's quite easy to use. If you are not satisfied with automatically generated front end, then you can use just for some parts backends. And if you say some forms, some user interface parts you want to have under your control, you can use just this backend part here, yeah, like this backend part here. And now actually we can start, because now it's time to see it, how it works. Okay. And what we usually do, we play a sort of a theater, not because we have no language to communicate, but it's kind of no-code style, yeah. So I'm playing a kind of business owner of a process in a small company, and Lubos is playing a Petriflow developer who is in this language using our builder, creating a code in Petriflow language and then deploying it to interpreter. And we will now, in a couple of minutes, create such an application. Okay. And the application is like, imagine that I have customers which have a contract and have contract numbers.
Okay.
The first thing we want to do, we want to have a form that they will send us some requests.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to create a public form?
Yeah, a public form that anybody without necessity to log in to the application will give his name. So now you can enter some kind of data field name and surname.
Okay.
And because we make a first prototype in 20 minutes, so give just email there so that we can contact back that person. And it would be nice to have a contract number, because I told you that we would like to have it for our customers that already have contracts with my business. And contract number is a number field.
Okay.
And actually, this is
pretty much it, right?
This is what we need for the first prototype, and can save it. So this is a task, yeah? But we don't want to approach this task directly. We want to have a life cycle for these data objects. We want to have a process. So can you please start the process with a variable? And now you have the first task, and the first task will be called submission of form. And after that, it will be done by this public person. Actually, these rectangles are transitions in Petri-nest, means tasks in our language.
Yeah.
And these circles are data variables that can have some states, that can hold a number of black tokens. Yeah. So at the beginning, if such an instance of such a process is created, then in variable p1, which means place 1, will hold a token, and now the forms can be submitted. Yeah, and after it's submitted, I would like to, and actually those tasks, you can imagine, these are usually screens for different users, but it also can be system tasks which are done by computer. or a machine or a third-party systems, or can be synchronized from another process, yeah, by reaction to some events. Okay, now we would like to have after it's submitted, then employee at the registration desk should register it.
Okay, so employee at the registration will register.
So the next task in the process is registration.
Okay.
And after it's registered, the system should decide whether it should go to first department or second department in my company.
So something like this.
Yeah.
System will decide, and then the task will be assigned to a department.
Yeah. Okay. So you can also call this task T7 and T8.
Okay.
Like
to first.
And this is first department, and another is to second. And this is second department. Actually, these two first and two second will be system tasks, where system will, based on some logic, some rules, decide whether it should go up and down. And later on, I will tell you the logic.
Okay.
But after the first department is writing the answer, it should actually go back to the registration. No, here.
Yeah, okay, it should go back to registration.
Go back to registration from both departments, and then the registration should create an answer. So the last act should be an answer for customer. Okay. This is actually my process, and I would like also that during the whole life cycle of this request form, there should be a kind of task where the client or customer should see a status or state of his application.
So something like this, something that is alive during the whole
something like this all the time about. Now you can simulate. We told you that we have a explicit state, so we can simulate our process. We can say, okay, at the beginning, the submission of the form can be done by a customer, and then registration will register. Then it will go to first or second department, for example, to first. First will create the answer, and you can also go to more detailed mode, and answer actually means task. So it is somebody is assigned to that task and starting to work on that task, creating an answer, and then it can either cancel or finish the task. And this assigned task, finish task, and cancel task will be basic events, and we can react inside of that event and write a piece of code. Okay, and we see that all the time the status detail was green, so all the time the user can see in which state is his request. And now we would like to have some kind of roles to tell who will do the thing. So we will have a system role. Something should do a system. And we should have a registration, which are the employees of the registration desk or call center, or however you want, you name it. And then you should have first department employees and second department. Okay, perfect. And now, can you attach these roles to different tasks?
Okay.
So form is a system task because we don't want to approach it directly. Then registration is
perform the registration.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
To first and to second are system tasks. System should do it. And first department is employee of first department, and second department employee of the second department. and answer is, for simplicity, the registration itself is creating the answer.
Status is
No.
for everyone, and also
For everyone who has the link.
History.
Okay, perfect. And now we told that form will not be directly approached, but in submission of the form, you should create a form for this task and just give a reference to the form itself. Yeah, it means that actually, as a subtask of the submission of the form, you will have a form for this request. Yeah.
May I ask you, the data that were in the form, all of them should be editable or visible?
Yeah, it would be good. Can you go there?
Mhm.
Okay, first, name, surname, it should be editable at the moment.
Yeah. And the contract
Number should be
required.
Or email too.
Okay.
At least email should be required. That
Okay.
we can answer back. Okay, what is good that now, can you go to data variables and maybe, I would like our contracts are between 1000 and 2999.
I see. So you want some kind of regex,
Yeah,
some kind
some
of validation.
So by in range. In documentation, you can find the syntax of those validations. Okay, these are valid contracts, and somewhere in between those strings should be the contract. Perfect. And now I want just that after submission of the form. Okay, maybe in registration, I would like also create a form. And now you see why we created this form as a separate thing, as a separate task, because I would like to see the same form which was submitted, but now only visible.
Okay.
So after the form is submitted, people at registration should read it, but should not be able to change it.
Okay.
Yeah. And they should also, there should be another data variable.
What should it be?
It should be an enumeration field, so selecting from several options.
Okay.
That's perfect. And you should call it maybe a source of the
request. Origin source.
Origin of the request. And you can give some options. And you can add call center, because somebody could call you and it is, instead of the person itself, you wrote that question and it could come from back. And just filling the form directly by the customer.
Cool.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, perfect. And then after it's registered in first department, they should also see the same contract, the same
request.
Yeah.
That's reference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just visible. And here should be a new data variable, like a bigger data field.
Okay, I see.
Okay, and bigger, so you can make it bigger.
Oh, I see. So you want not just a simple text, but a whole text area.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, it is good, but you can move this down.
So this one down and this
No,
one.
no, this tab.
I see, like
okay,
this.
like this, just a little bit bigger.
Okay, cool.
And give it a name, I don't know, answer of the department. Okay. And that's all. And you also can do in the second department, use the same variables.
So the same as in the. So it should be also this size, right?
Yeah.
And still the reference is visible.
Okay. And after that, okay, perfect. Answer of the registration desk should have visible this request itself, the form, and it should also have visible the answer of the department.
Oh, I see. Not this one, but this one.
Yeah. In that way. And one more down.
like this.
Yeah, and here should be answer for the customer, because sometimes the departments are writing like, okay, I want to change surname, and they write, okay, already done, and you want to write some polite answer for your customer, so this people at the registration should actually take this answer from the department and write it in a nice way, etc. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay. And actually, what I want that in status, I want that the client will see, okay, a create form, and I want to see what I submitted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the reference needs to
Yeah.
be probably visible.
Yeah.
Because it didn't
And I also want to see the answer for me.
So the answer for the customer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this answer should be hidden at the beginning,
Oh.
because at the beginning there is no answer.
Mhm.
You can move both down.
Okay, so both of them is going down.
No, this
Switch them.
okay. And here I would like to have a simple text field, which is actually detail or state of the request. Perfect.
And this one is also visible, right?
Yeah, also visible. Okay. And now I would like these pieces of low code there. So actually, I would like, if you have a submission of the form, after you submit, so at the finish event,
in a preface or
in the preface before the state of the whole object is changed, I would like to change here the state.
Change the
variable.
state. Okay, got it.
Okay.
So you want to change the value of data field.
State of the
request.
and value should be your request has been submitted.
Your request has been submitted.
Okay, perfect. Okay, you can take this text. You can take the okay.
I can
copy
that even.
Okay.
Direction.
Yeah. Okay. And now after the registration, I would like at the finish.
In the pre.
Yeah, have the same action, just saying, okay, but has been registered.
Has been registered. Okay, get it.
Registered.
Super.
Okay.
Okay,
Now,
sorry.
perfect. And now you can go to the customer doesn't need to know whether the first or second department finished, but after the answer is okay. So you can here make the same thing, but saying that it's been answered, and you should make visible here.
Okay, got it.
On that status task, the data variable state.
So data field answer for customer should be visible on transition status
detail always
when it is true.
So always perfect. This is what should you do. And now the only thing what we have to do is that after the registration is made, can you simulate? Okay, here somebody starting to work on the task.
They will assign
they will choose whether it was from web or not, and if it's finished, so the token comes here, and first and to second are enabled tasks, and system should do this task at this moment. So after in post phase of finish of the registration. So you can go here and in post phase of finish, you can make this if else.
So if else statement, typical.
And if condition.
If condition, the data field value, the
So if contract number starts with 1, so it means it's less than 2000, yeah, then it should go upper way to first department.
Then it should go to the upper way. So we need to use async run.
So we need to execute the task in a new thread, so to say. And here you can say which task.
So I will go with the 2 first.
Okay. Now system should automatically do to the first, and else it should go this lower.
So to second, to T9.
Yeah. Perfect. And actually that's all.
That's it.
And now we have an application, and you can save the code in that Petriflow language.
I will probably just change the configuration.
Request
RQS and
request form
request
processing.
Give it an icon so we can separate it.
Okay, and now you can save the source code. And if you save it, and you can make it visible for people, you see that actually the code was generated. It's this is a code in the Petriflow language where you have roles, you have data in very readable way. You have these tasks called transitions. You have this binding of data variables on these tasks called data ref or data references. Can you show some detail? For example, here you have text field with ID text 5, which is editable on some transition second department, yeah, and has some kind of coordinates in a grid on the form, yeah. And these pieces of codes are actually also with very readable syntax. If you find some action,
here it was, for example.
Yeah. Here you have some mapping of IDs from XML to variables in this piece of code, and just what he wrote there you see here.
Yep.
And now you can take this code in that language, and you can go to interpreter, which anybody can for free try.
Sign up and use our demo application.
And you can.
Sorry, just a quick reload.
And you can upload a process.
So the last one we have created request.
Okay, this now it's uploaded and it's there. And now if you open that, okay, you can open this, and you see here is an identifier of the process. And if you now go to a web page in some incognito browser, which is a page of the application itself, then /process/ the ID of the process, and you press enter, it will create a new instance of that process, and it will start the first task in that process, which is submission of a form. And now you can.
I will use Jakub's name and email.
Jakub Kovács is with some email and with contract number. Make 4111.
4111.
Okay, sorry, we made this. Make 1, 2, 3, 4.
Also made a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, and if you make a finish now, and you see the detail. You see that your request has been submitted, and you see here. So you have the link, which is actually the link of the process, followed by the ID of that instance, which is a kind of this string of numbers and letters. And actually, this address will always load the tasks which are open for anybody without login and into the application, where you can see all the tasks of this process instance. Yeah. So this is the reason why you see the status here. If you go to the model, actually what we did is actually we created a new instance of this process, submitted a form, and now we see just status because we don't have a registration, and it is anonymous public form. But if you go back to the application and if you go to role management, and if you attach to yourself registration role, now you see that you have a new case
from anonymous user.
Yeah, from this request.
And if I check the detail,
you see the detail too, and you see also the registration task. And in the registration task, you can assign to yourself, because there could be hundreds. As you see, there are many tasks that Luos have to do today. And now you have to choose origin of the, okay, it came through web. And you see the details of that. And if you click finish, actually what happened is that in the model, somebody did this registration, and in the finish, there was a piece of code. It started with 1. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should go to first department. This should be done now automatically, and it should be a task for first department. And now we can check it by, you will have both rows, first and second, and you will see that it goes to the first department. And now you can create your answer. So actually what you are doing now you can go here, and now actually you are in this state. You are filling. You have assigned the task and you are filling or doing that task, performing that task. So now you can write here answer, name changed. Yeah, okay. And if you click finish, what actually happened is that it's here, and a registration desk can create real answer, a polite answer for your customer. So really, he can create an answer. He's the answer of the department. He see the question. We forgot to give the text for question in the first form. No problem with it. Okay, your name was changed. Okay. Perfect. Okay. And now it's finished. And now if you go to this incognito, okay, and here,
just to like show the detail.
Okay, and you see that your request has been answered, and now also the answer for the customer is changed from hidden to visible.
Yeah.
And what we forgot, if you go back, we forgot something in the request. We forgot in the form
to add a note.
To add the question itself. Yeah. So very easy. We can add here the request, text of the request.
That has to be required.
And it's required. We forgot this, so now we can
make
download one more and make upload a new version of the process.
Very quickly, right?
And if you upload a new version of the process because you forgot to create a
the
data field for the answer, so we see, okay, we see in process. No, go back. We see in the process that we also have a second version of the process. Yeah, and if we go to all cases. So if you go to the ID, so we see here ID. Okay, if we copy it and if you go to incognito and create a new public form, so demo processes and then okay, So now we already see that the node is there.
Yeah.
So if we forget something, we can change the application very quickly. We can create a new version. We can basically incrementally develop the application. We can now say, okay, this is the basic, this is the first prototype, and it's actually running. Anybody who is going to that address can send us their request. So it really takes just 10-20 minutes, like I think 20, less than half hour, to create an application for processing of something. Now we have a very simple application with 2 departments, just adding rows, etc. Okay.
Okay, I think that we can now make the round
questions.
of answers and questions. So I will change the options for you to switch on your microphones, and if you do have any questions, feel free to ask.
So actually, before some questions will come, what we wanted to do is to give some kind of methodological view, how we think, or kind of reason, to tell you reason why we believe that next generation languages will go this way, and also to show you how we implemented such a concept for you.
Anybody? Feel free. We are here till 16.
Yeah, but no problem if the question will come later. No problem with that. We are here to answer. Maybe we can fill the time to tell you that actually we have relatively robust digitalization using this technology for mainly insurances and utility sector and financial sector like leasing companies, etc. So we did this digitalization for some health insurance and non-life insurance for several insurance companies with dozens of processes implemented from claims through new contracts and requests for some medicaments and requests for payment for health care in abroad, etc., etc. So usually we have implementations where daily this system can process dozens of thousands of tasks, like 20,000-30,000 tasks per day, 50,000-100,000. So we have implementations when already a customer or a company has more than 100 million instances of the processes, of different processes communicating each other, and as I said, processing daily up to 100,000 different tasks. So we believe that it's suitable for different range of customers, from really small companies that want to quickly develop or communicate with customers, or want to quickly process internal processes too, because you can imagine that instead of those anonymous forms, you can have registered users, and for those registered users, you can, as employees of your company, you can also process some very easily internal processes like I don't know, holidays or vacations of your employees, managing of equipment like notebooks, cell phones, etc. So we did many different processes from different range of internal processes to B2C processes for our customers. As I said, mainly for utility and financial sector.
Hey guys, this is Milan. May I have a question?
I see there is a question. Yes?
Yeah. The question really is simple.
Well,
Is it necessary to model everything in your builder, or can you import some of the models from other tools like BPMN models or similar?
unfortunately, I cannot hear you. Couldn't hear you. Can you repeat that, please? We do have a problem with the microphone on my PC, so maybe we can check that, and maybe you can type that question into the form we have created, because I haven't heard you before.
Is it better now if I ask this way?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Yeah.
a little bit.
So maybe you can tell us the question.
So could you please ask us the question again?
The import of the external models from other tools or languages like BPMN, is that possible or not?
Okay, so the question is whether it's possible to import other models such as BPMN into.
Yes, for sure. We can quickly show you how it's easy. So, for example, you can go to some builder of BPMN. For example, this is one what you can try to create your BPMN models.
So you want to create something?
Yeah. You can create the same model that we did
Oh, I see what you
today
mean.
and import.
So you
First was the registration or submission.
Then there was the registration.
Yeah. Can you scale it a little bit?
Yeah, let's scale that.
Yeah. Okay. And then was the source split. One was
The first.
to first. Or this was the first and the second.
This is the first.
First and second.
Second.
Can you shift this first up? Okay, and now perfect. And now some join. And this is the answer.
This one is, and this one is empty.
Answer. And here you can make a end split after submit.
And it should be changed like this.
Yeah. And then you can give there.
So this one is not coming from here, it is coming from here.
Okay.
There is another one.
Okay, and this is the status. Okay, now if you save it, and if you go to our modeler or to our builder, and you upload it, so it will create a model for you, which is actually basically the same model as we drawn
previously.
Okay, and now if you simulate this, so actually you can submit, you can
Check the status.
check the status. Yeah, if you register, it go to first or to second, and if it go to first, then you have answer. So you have some additional internal tasks which have to be created from BPMN. you can now accommodate this model or fill the data there and fill the logic, rules, etc., and easily work with that. So basically, you can drone your model in BPMN2 and import this model.
I also found one question on in the application engine, and there is written: is low-code specifically for business process, or will this also be usable in other fields like game dev? Maybe.
So actually, we have, or Jakub will maybe answer better. We have some. We teach this at the university, actually at 3 different faculties, one in Germany and 2 in Slovakia up to now. And we also have some team projects where the students are trying to model
their own applications.
Their own applications as a projects, and some of the students choose story games where they create stories who should do something, and in some sense, SpectreNets can generate your story, and actually the people have to solve some tasks and follow the story and try to reach some final stage or some set of final states which are actually then from those final state you go to next levels, which actually if you reach that state, then a system similar as we reacted here, that in a finish of something we run the tasks, internal tasks or system tasks. Similarly, you can, if you reach some task or some transitions in your story game, so you can actually create a new instance of next level of story. So the stories or levels of stories are processes, and you can in that way build. Actually, you can start with some stories, and in time you can add new stories and say, okay, just upload the new next level and say, okay, if you finish this level, you will create a new instance of next level, etc., etc. So you can easily use this not only in BPMN but as a kind of.
This approach of process-driven development can be used for game development as well, but in the company we focused mostly on the business side, because if you wanted to use it for game development, you probably would want to have some integration with existing engines. And
for example, Unity or whatever. Actually, you have to probably use a game engine for your graphics and user interface, and to have an integration with our REST API to this, I would say, process-based engine that will actually implement your logic of your stories.
Our application, our platform is RESTful. So, for example, one of our colleagues have created some sort of IoT as he have connected his Arduino to the application platform, and he was opening doors and windows from our platform.
Yeah, so. and actually, if you want to learn more, you can contact Lubos, and as I said, this is source code available framework. So Lubos will tell you exact conditions on licensing, and you can actually get some kind of license for free, also with the source code. The details, if you are interested, will be provided by Lubos, and then you can, for free, play with the framework, override functions, and create whatever you want, more or less. So, for example, create your game, etc.
So, just to sum it up, I will send you an email afterwards after we finish. And everything important is on our website, netdrift.com. You can find interesting stuff on petriflow.com, where is many things written about our language. Then we do have our YouTube
YouTube channel.
where we post videos. As you see today, the demo of a request application. So videos like this. Also, this event will be published privately in there. So I will send you a link to that, so you can see the presentation afterwards. And we are also active on Twitter and LinkedIn. So any update will be up in there. So feel free to connect to us. Feel free to follow our LinkedIn page, and we are looking forward to speak to you anytime. Feel free to contact me, Gabriel, or anybody else from, for example, sales in our company.
So it was a great pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for attendance, and have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
And enjoy playing with Petri Flow and Nedgrid if you want.
And as we already mentioned, the demo and the builder are free, so feel free to register to the demo and play with the tools. And the builder is free without registration. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, bye guys.
Have a nice evening.
Have a nice day.
Bye. Have a nice day.